Merel entfert. Merel entfert ihm mit einem unbeticken Schmeichel, als keiner wart nicht dafür. Merel answers him with an unhappy smile that no one is waiting for her. Aber Kalman schwert sich, soll also sicher sein mit Koltuv, wie ist sicher, als kein Ballen auf wird nicht fallen. But Kalman swears that he is certain with all in the world, by the whole world, that he is certain that there will not lack anyone eager for her. Sie darf nicht sein frömmer, wie die Teure verlangt es. There's no need for her to be more pious than is demanded by the Torah. Retter benimistik und nimmt Untersingen mit der Geborenigen. He speaks with confidence, or pleasantly, and he begins to sing with the melody of the Gemara. Vibal
Untersingen is a company.
well, yeah, but here
a company.
Okay, he accompanies himself, but he's not using an instrument.
Yeah.
Wie bald ist Arriber 15 Jahre sind ihr Mann ist weg in Milchome. Und wie bald, als von ihr Manns Rotte ist keiner nicht zurückgekommen. Und wie bald ist gewesen kranker und gekannt heißt es, sterben mit den eigenen Tod, darf sie sich mehr nicht plagen. Seeing as it's been already 15 years since her husband went to war, and seeing as from her husband's company, no one came back. And given that he was sick, and it could be that he even died on his own, therefore, she shouldn't plug in anymore. She shouldn't
suffer.
Torment herself anymore. Merel fragt ihm a Geplefte von wann weiß, als ihr Mann ist gewesen kranker. Merel asks him in astonishment, how does he know that her husband was kranker, not altogether well? Und Kalman kreket daraus, als weiß es von ihr Mammen. And Kalman, now kreket arois, that's an unusual verb. He croaks. I don't recognize it. Blurts out, perhaps. That's it. That he knows.
What did you say?
To blurt.
Okay, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Blurt. Yeah.
Well, it's not in my dictionary anyway. That he knows it from her mother. Die Nähterin lacht. The seamstress laughs. Und bei ihrer Schwester ist reich gewesen. So did he also go to talk to her sister? Nein, sagt ist gewesen bloß bei ihrer Mammen. No, he says, he only went to her mother. Weiß, als einmal ist sie gewesen sehr erfreuliche und a schöne ist sie noch jetzt euch. He understands that once she was very happy, and she is still beautiful. Was soll sie nicht gehen zu Rabbonim, kriegen a heter? So why shouldn't she go to the rabbis and receive a permission to remarry? Wenn ich will halten bei Chasen haben, will ich absuchen einen Mann, was wird mich nehmen ohne heter. When I'm ready to get married, I will look for a husband who will take me without rabbinic permission. Antwort Merel schein ungeduldig. Answers Merel already a little bit ungeduldig. Impatiently, thank you. Kalman tut hastig guckt zum Winkel, wo steht sein Stecken, wie wollt bedehe gehabt antläufen von Stub, fahr ihre heftige Rede. Kalman hastily glances into the corner where his stick, his cane, is standing, as if he had in mind to run away out of the house because of her impious speech. Doch bleibt sitzen, but still he remains sitting, und nimmt Reden noch gelassener. And he begins to speak even more uh,
Really?
gelassen is calmly.
Oh, okay.
Calmly. Aber
Okay.
schein unerfreulichen Zusing, but already without the comedic accompaniment. Sicher wollen sich auf ihre gefunden Ballonen auf euch onnenetter. Certainly there will appear eager husbands even without a rabbinic permission. Nor was soll sie mit Zair sein an alter Mamen? But why should she cause distress to her old mother? Und a Lebjung, was rechnet sich nicht mit dem Dien von der Teure, wird sich euch nicht rechnen mit Menschen und kann sie noch später wegwerfen. And if you find a lively fellow who doesn't care about the rules of the Torah, he'll most likely also not care about people. And later, he might throw her over. Kalmen Metes, wird nicht wünschen kein Schlechts, a Freu, was will nicht faraman. He, Kalmen Metes, would not wish any evil to a woman who doesn't want him as a husband. Aber die heintige schweren, kläumerst ewige Liebe, und ob die Frau will nicht Herren von sehr ewiger Liebe, wünschen sie ihr das Samme Ärgste. But the modern folks, they swear, as it were, eternal love. And if the woman doesn't want to hear of their eternal love, then they wish her the absolute worst. Firdois Kalman. That's what Kalman expresses. Und Merel versteht, als die Mama hat ihm erzählt wegen Moishke Cyrulnik. And Merel understands that her mother must have told him about Moishke Cyrulnik, the fellow who wanted to marry her when she ended up marrying her husband. Gewiss wollte Moishke Cyrulnik nicht gefragt bei Rav, kein der Leubenisch. Certainly, Moishke Cyrulnik would not have asked a rabbi about permission. Will mit ihr Chassene haben, kedei sie peinigen, vor dem, was sie es amol nicht geworden sein Weib. He would only want to marry her in order to torture her for the fact that once upon a time she didn't become his wife. Und euch nicht sein Ljubovnice, and also not his mistress, since he is an Agune. Since she has become a chained woman, an abandoned woman. Merel tota Cook afen jeden mit keilichtigen Tamavate ponem, wie sie wollte ihm jetzt sehen zum ersten Mal. Merel glances at this fellow with his round, simple face, as if, well, Tamavat is, it's not expressionless, it's
foolish, perhaps?
It's not even foolish. It's Tamavata means
Innocent?
Innocent, I think is pretty good there.
Okay.
Innocent face,
Yeah.
as if she had up till now, as if she is seeing him now for the first time. Is gar nicht so Tamavata wie seit euch. He's not so innocent as he appears. Tracht Merel, thinks Merel. Und entschuldigt sich vor ihm, Halamai, sie kann länger nicht sitzen mit ihm beim Tisch. And she excuses herself that she cannot sit with him at the table any longer. Sie darf noch heint arois endigen a stickel arbeit. She has to finish a piece of work today. She is a seamstress. Aber kann bleiben sitzen und weiter reden. Stört sie nicht. But he could, if he wants, keep sitting there and speak more. It's not bothering her. Merel setzt sich bei der Nähmaschine und stuppt das weiß Zeig unter a Nadel. Meryl sits at the sewing machine and she pushes the white material under its needle. Die Nadel trefft in ihre Finger. The needle catches her finger, nicht in Weißzeig, not into the white material. Nor der Wetik in Harzen ist a Sach scharfer, wie der Wetik in die gestochene Finger. But the pain in her heart is a lot sharper than the pain in her pierced finger. Kalman redt weiter und sie jogt hastig die Maschine. Kalman keeps speaking and she makes the machine go fast. Wie sie wollt sich gefleißt anjagen die verlorene Jahren von ihrer Aguneschaft. As if she wanted fluently or gefleißt.
To catch up. Okay.
Well, anjagen is to catch up, but what's gefleißt? As if she wished to catch up to the lost years of her status as an Aguna. And gefleißt,
to try hard to.
yeah, wollt sich gefleißt anjagen, perhaps.
Isn't diligent something like that? Placing.
Yeah, but onyogen is to catch up.
That's clear, but the question is gefleißt, to be diligent,
okay.
and it's gefleißt,
Okay.
to be diligent or to try hard. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, someone else's turn.
I like the way you translated Agune, the chained woman. That's it. She's not just deserted, but she's chained. She's like,
And she's
like
not abandoned necessarily because you don't know why it is her husband hasn't
that's
returned.
right. But she's chained. She
But
cannot.
she is chained, yes.
Yeah.
So Yankov, why don't you take over?
Okay. Kayla hat geschickt sagen der Tochter, sie soll Leman Hashem kommen zu ihr Shabbos. Kayla sent word to her daughter to tell her that she should without fail come to her on Shabbos. Wenn Meryl ist Shabbos gekommen zu der Mammen in Meishevskenim, hat sie dort euch getroffen, ihr zwei Schwestern. When Meryl arrived on Shabbos to visit her mother in the old-aged home, she met there her two sisters. Die Mama hat gleich genommen weinen auf ihr Kopf. Her mother immediately began to weep bitterly. 2 Epis, 3 Töchter habe ich. Do something. I've got 3 daughters. Und im Naches, was ich habe von sie, sollen diejenigen, was wünschen, mir Beis euch nicht haben.
Oh,
So I have 3 daughters, and the
Pleasure?
Naches, the
satisfaction.
pleasure, I think, is better.
Okay.
Which I have from them, may those who wish me bad, may they not even have that. 2 Epis, die Rabbonim sollen dir frei machen. Do something so that the Rabbonim will set you free. Als ich halt nicht bei Chasna haben, hat Meryl sich geactioned. So, but I don't want to get married. Meryl insisted. Und wenn ich will dabei halten, will ich nicht fragen bei Rabbonim. And when I do want to get married, I won't ask permission from the rabbis. Nicht bei mein Leben hat Kayla sich zerjammert. Not while I'm alive, Kayla moaned. Und ob du willst nicht, ich soll überdrehen in Käfer, tu es euch nicht noch mein Tod. And if you don't want me to turn over in my grave, don't do it even after my death. Ich hab dir keinmal nicht gestört, sich zu führen, wie du willst. I've never
Interfered.
interfered with you doing whatever you wanted to do. Du bist nicht kein Rebbetzins Tochter. You aren't the daughter of a rabbi, of a rabbi's wife. Nor as men soll dich rufen, Eishes Ischnitzner, will ich nicht der leben. But that they should call you an adulterous woman, that I don't want to live to see. Euch mir gefällt nicht Moischke der Markhändler, weil ist Diekevet sich über dir. I also don't like this Moischke, the market trader, because he ridicules you, schützt dir Salz auf die Wunden, and he pours salt on the wounds. Aber Reb Kalman is ein edler Jid und ein ehrlicher Jid. But Reb Kalman is a pleasant man and an honest man.
Gentle.
Yeah, okay, gentle and an honest man. Die ältere Schwester Gutta, was wohnt in die billige Häuser von der Baronesse Hirsch, hat sich zerschockelt und zerteinet verovelte. The older sister Gutta, who lived in the cheap houses built by the Baroness Hirsch, she shook her head and started saying sadly, Die gute Jahr soll sie haben, was Reb Kalman, der Stubmaler, hat in ein Nogel mehr Menschlichkeit, wie viel ihr Mann, der Schicker, hat in Herz und Kopf. So, the good years that she would have with Reb Kalman, the house painter, would in one of his nails, he has more decency than her man, her husband, the drunk, has in his heart and his head, in sein Leib und Leben, in his body and in his life. Achisoren, die Kalle ist zu schön. Der Stubmaler is a frummer Yid. So, Achisoren, die Kalle ist zu schön. It's perhaps a pity that the house painter is a religious man. Halavai is
Not quite. It's Achasara Dikalas Sushain is an expression saying you're saying that you don't want something because it's too good for you.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
he is overqualified.
Yeah.
It-
Literally,
yeah,
it's a defect that the bride is too pretty.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Halavai is ihr schickerer Frummer. Wollt doch nicht gelost, als sie sich matteren mit die Kinder. Would that her husband, the drunk, would be frum, would be religious. If that were so, he would not leave her to suffer with the children.
Is this
Was komt-
Kayla's husband who's the drunk?
No, this is Guta's husband. Guta, the older sister.
Oh, the older sister. Thank you.
Ja. Ja, was kommt heraus von sein Schererei, als mehr wie die eigene verdrehte Wunses putzt nicht und schert nicht? So what's the use of his barbershop that where he has these mustachios that are twisted, and that's what all he does. He doesn't cut hair. Arbeitet a halben Tag da, a halben Tag dorten, bis man treibt him raus. He works half a day here, half a day there, until they chase him away. Bis macht fertig ein Kopf, machen andere fertig 10. In the time that he cuts one head of hair, others do 10. Seiner Abalabos hat sich vor ihr geschworen, als ihr Schicker hat etliche Mal gelost die Kunden eingeseift in Mulines, und allein hat sich herausgehabt machen a Schnäpsele. His boss told him, swore to her that her drunk husband, several times he left clients with soap and suds on their faces, and he went out to grab himself a drink. Dazu noch schert wie es haben sich geschoren die Amaleke Kosaken. And in addition, he cuts hair in the same way that they used to, that the Cossacks used to cut their hair. Antike junge Leute willen nicht kein ausgegolte Nackens wie die Katzapes. These days, the young people don't want to have shaven necks like the Russians do. Antike junge Leute haben lieb, als man soll sie scheren unten nicht mit dem Scherl. The present day young people want they want to have their hair cut in exactly the same way with a pair of scissors. Und was hecher zu der Patilnitze als dicker. And the closer you get to the nape of the neck, they want the hair to be thicker. Was verdrehst du dem Kopf mit deinem Mann? Why are you going on about your husband? Mischt sich herein Golda, die jüngste Schwester. So the youngest sister Golda she started saying, sag ich doch, schockelt sich Guta, der Chasen macht an Elmalei Rachamim und mein Schicker macht euch Amalei. Amole. So I tell you, I'm telling you, says Gutta, shaking her head. The Chazan makes a memorial prayer, and my drunk also takes a full one. In other words, a schnapsel, a full glass of liquor. As hij heißt bei ihm, euch trinken a full Glas Bromfen. This is what he calls drinking a full glass of whiskey. Der Maler stellt sich a viele nicht op, vermachen Haskores, abi verdienen. And the painter doesn't stop saying the memorial prayers, but at least he is earning a living. Welche Haskores ruft euch Golda an übergeschrockene, was Gutta hat sich verpleudert wie ein Euver Bottelnitzer. So what do you mean memorial prayers? Golda called out, alarmed, that Gutta was babbling on like someone who was overbottled, who was senile. Von deiner Wörter kommt euch, als der Stubmaler is a cavern. From what you're saying, it seems that the house painter is a grave digger. Fleckt gehen auf ein Feld stamazoi. Jetzt hat es im Ganzen weggeworfen. He used to go to the cemetery just occasionally, and now he's given it up altogether. Du sagst, als dein Schicker kann nicht scheren, und mein Schicker nehmen can ja. You say that your drunk husband can't cut hair, and my drunk husband can sew. Nehmt sich schon euch Golda unterwiegen verzorrete. And this is Golda starts unterwiegen.
To rock back and forth.
Okay, so it rocks back and forth in a troubled way. A latutnik verdient mehr wie ihm. A cobbler, or someone who patches things, earns more than him. Hat gekent seiner Schneider erste Sort. He could have been a tailor of the best kind, weil will sich nicht zugucken, wie man schneit Hand zu. But he doesn't want to pay attention to the way that cloth is cut these days. Hand näht man säcklich. Und mein Feuler geht noch als Leuten Fasson von Melch Sabetzkes Jahren. Now he sews patches, and my lazy husband sews according to the fashion of the King Sabetzke's times. In other words, in a very old-fashioned way. Eng in der Taille und mit schmaler Klappes. Very narrow in the waist and very narrow lapels. Die Polle verreißt bei ihm und der Rücken knatscht. The coattails pull in the garments that he sews, and the back is creased. Waarvan ihm takke die kunden die rekkele in ponim, and the customers throw their jackets back at him in his face. Folgt mir, Merke, lass sich überreden mit dem Stubmaler. Listen to me, Merke. Change your mind as far as the house painter is concerned. Okay. Somebody else.
Okay, me, Susan.
On me to read? Oh. Merel hat sich zugehört und Beismeister sich herumgeguckt. Merel listened, and at the same time she looked around. In großen Zimmer von Moishev's Kanem, in the big room of the old age home. Euch die Bettler seinen gelegen, eingedeckte, euch die Bettler seinen gelegen, eingedeckte Jidines und gekrecht. On the beds, there were covered up old ladies that were lying on the bed and krechzing and complaining. An Altichke in a chipik, an old woman with a cap, is gesessen auf den Rand von ihr Bett. She was sitting on the edge of her bed mit a rupgehangene kurze Fies, and her short feet were leaning over the side of the bed, hanging over the side of the bed. In wollene geschreifte Sachen, in woolen, and what a geschreifte, I didn't know that one.
It's gestreift, I think striped.
Oh, striped, woolen striped socks, und ihr Nose besuttelt, and mit a poor meschene Spakulen, and her nose was saddled with some metal glasses, eyeglasses. Hat geschmeckt die Oisjes von Teichchumisch. She was sort of smelling the letters from the translation of the Chumash. In an ander Winkel hat a heuche Skene mit a vergolemt ausgezeugen Punem. In another corner, there was a tall old woman with
Idiotic. For golem, like a golem-like a face. But the golem is
a haunted face.
No, the story. You know the story about the golem. A golem is somebody who's an idiot. You say about them, he's a golem.
Oh, this is the golem. A dopey with a dopey ausgezeugen with a dopey, strained face, gekite a harte skorinke, and she was chewing on a hard skorinke, which is what?
Crust of bread.
Crust of bread. Mit ihr unzähnerdicke Josles, with her toothless gums. Euch Kehle hat letztens gekrogen, geschwollene Glieder, and lately Kayla had swollen bones und nicht gekannt Oyster runterkriechen von Geleger, and she wasn't able to creep out of her bed. ist sie gesessen, untergespart mit 3 Cushions, and she was sitting backed up with 3 pillows, und gewarmt die blue verschwollene hand, and she warmed her blue swollen hands auf a heißen Teechainik, warmed them on a warm tea kettle. Wees 2 von ihrer Töchter, Gute und Golda, meanwhile 2 of her daughters, Gute and Golda, eingewickelte in facelas covered with their headkerchiefs, the open frost, as though they were protecting themselves in a frost, haben sich gewohnt über ihr dritter, haben sich gewiegt über ihr dritten Tochter. So they were rocking back and forth by the third daughter, and ausgeklugt auf ihr Kopf their eigene Bitternis, and they poured out their own bitter troubles on her head. Der amulige schwarze Finkel in Merels Augen hat sich umgezogen und sich zerspielt. The one time a bright spark in Meryl's eyes lit up, and it was active. A wiste Freilichkeit is ihr befallen beim Gedank. An ugly happiness turned up in her thoughts. As begegnet ihr Chossen hat sie auf dem Beisäulen und dem Schiddich read, that she must have met her Chossen, her groom, on the cemetery, and dem Schiddich read. Next page. Read men ihr in Bagodolnia. She must have met her groom on the cemetery, and they're making a shidduch for her in Bagodnia. That's the name of a place. Is that a name of a place?
No, it isn't. It's a Ukrainian word that means a poor man. Bogodelnia.
Oh, so instead they're making her a shidduch with a poor man. It's passt noch, als der Feldhasen soll rein spazieren mit sein Steckele von Alavaya gehen. So now it happens that
now it would be fitting.
Say that again?
Now it would be fitting.
Oh, now it would be befitting if the cantor who does the cemeteries in the cemetery should walk in with his stick, which he uses to go to funerals. Und Meryl hat sich heuch voneinander gelacht, and Meryl laughed to herself. Sei, Mama, hat Golda a patsch getun mit die Hand. You see, Mother? And Golda clapped her hands. Wie gefällt dir ihr Geländer?
I think it's a misprint. I think it's a misprint, Gelächter.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think, okay. I looked up the word Geländer, and it says something like poor man or madhouse.
Well,
or
a Geländer is a banister, and that doesn't work.
In the dictionary, one of the translations offered was hilarity.
Yeah, I think it's Gelächter, hilarity.
A mocking laughter. That's what I
Mocking
found.
laughter. gewesen und geblieben a wilde Zieg. It was and still is a
She
wild
was, yeah, she
goat.
was, and she still
She
is.
was, and she still is a wild goat. Okay.
Okay. Aber auf dem anderen Schabbos, wenn Kalman Maid ist gekommen zu Merlin, a Balabatisch verputzter, hat sie ihm aufgenommen, wie sie wohl schon auf ihm gewahrt. But on the following Saturday, when that Kalman came to Merle, well dressed, well groomed, like somebody of the middle class person, she welcomed him already as if she was waiting for him. Kalman hat erzählt, als die ganze vergangene Woche hat gearbeitet bei seinem Fach in zweiten Eckstadt und keine Zeit nicht gehabt, kommen als ein Herzog. Kalman told that the entire past week he worked in his profession at the other end of town, and he didn't have time to come here, to come up to here. Merle hat ihm gebeten zubeißen und hat sich nicht abgesucht. Merle asked him to have a bite, and he did not refuse. Beim Waschen sich zum Essen hat gegossen auf die Hände als Sachwasser, nur gegessen hat wenig und bis meiste gehalten, heruntergelost dem Kopf ein bisschen verschämter. So, when he was washing his hands before the meal, he poured on his hands a lot of water, but he ate very little, and while eating, he lowered his head a little ashamed. Erst beim Menschen hat sich viel sicherer und sich zu singen mit vermachten Augen, also süß und Geschmack, als Merle hat viel der heimische Warmkeit in alle Glieder. Already, when blessing by the table, he already felt more sure of himself, and he was chanting with closed eyes so sweetly, and deliciously that Merle felt like a homey warmth in her entire body.
I would say that Ersch beim Benchen would be only when it came to the grace after meals did he feel more certain.
Thank you. Okay. And before the meal?
No, no, he washed his hands, but he ate very little. So we're not talking about after the meal. That's what the benching is. So Ersch beim Benchen, only when it came to benching.
I understand. Okay, thank you. Wenn ihre Chavertes hat sie getracht, wenn ihre Chavertes hat sie getracht, wenn die amolige Revolutionärkes hernehmen jetzt singen, wollen sie sich mit Stimme gewisch die verdrehte Augen, wie auf dem Feld besser hat gemacht dem Elmal Rachamim noch der Verstorbene. she was thinking if her girlfriend, that's what she thought, were to hear her, those women, those one-time revolutionaries, if they were to hear him sing, they would probably wipe off their teared eyes, just like on the cemetery. At the time he was singing the prayer after the deceased, the El Maleh Rachamim, which is the prayer after the deceased. Merle hat abgedreht dem Kopf zum Fenster und ihr Blick hat weggeblondet weit über die Gärtner auf Rosele und Stiblachwald, wo sie ist geboren geworden und hat dort abgesungen ihre mädelsche Jahren mit gar anderen Lieder, wie singt Itzter Kalman. So, Meryl turned her head to the window, and her look, she wandered far away across the gardens on Roselle Street and the Houses Forest, where she was born, and where she sang. She sang through her youth, and she sang completely different songs than those that Kalman is singing. Mit einmal hat sie sich abgetan, als ihr Gast bencht und sie sitzt mit dem heulen Kopf in die eigene Haar. So all of a sudden, it dawned on her that her guest is blessing, and she is sitting with an exposed head with her own hair. Die Neiterin hat angetan a Tichel auf dem Kopf und ist geblieben sitzen beim Tisch entgegen ihr Gast, a verschwiegene und vertulierte in die Schabes zu nachtige Schottens. So the seamstress put on a kerchief on her head, and she remained sitting by the table across the way from her guest, quiet and enveloped in the Saturday night shadows.
Yeah, let me just add, we keep seeing Rusala as a location, and it appears to me that in Vilna, there is a place called Razu Kolonia, the district of Razu, and it might be that one, although things might have changed so much since then that it's not right at all.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, Moshe, you want to read?
Sure, why not? I just wanted to say something. It's probably totally irrelevant, but I'm reading Chavar Nachman, and set in the same time, but in Warsaw, and it's amazing the similarity. The young woman who was singing revolutionary songs and has moved away from it, husbands and fathers who were killed, drunken husbands. It's almost like no difference between Vilna and Warsaw. Anyway, der Rav von Shlomo Kissen's Hof the rabbi of Shlomo Kissin's courtyard. Common Maters wordt niet gered staan als die Agune kan rauskriegen hater van Rabbonim. Common Maters didn't just speak idly that the Agune could get permission from the rabbis to remarry. Wordt zijn vroeger dem Indien gehad übergeschmust mit a Porush von Gons Klois. He'd previously discussed it with someone who's withdrawn from the world. I don't know what a single word for that. In the
A recluse.
A recluse. Thank you. A recluse in the synagogue of the Vilna Gaon. Jener wordt reingelomen als stikwoord in Moel and gekite. That one took a bit of his beard into his mouth and chewed. Lange knecht mit den Sternen, lange knecht mit den Sternen, und es so geantwortet, als es lost sich reden. He wrinkled his brow for a long time and eventually answered that lost sich reden, that we could talk about it. Vivaldi Shah sitzt an Agune as viel Jahr, as the woman is an Agune for so long, so many years. Und Vivaldi ist nicht zurückgekommen, keiner von die junge Leute vor seinen Gewinn mit der Mann in derselben Ratte. And given that no one from the husband's company returned from the war, when Vivaldi seinen Doedes was haben gehört, auf dem Milchome felt dass die ganze Ratte ist umgekommen, and as there are witnesses that heard that on the wharf, on the field of battle, that the whole company was killed, they all died. Und Vivaldi, der junger Mann, ist gewesen kranker und gekannt starben mit dem eigenen Tod. And as the young man was an ill man and could possibly have spontaneously died, lost sich reden, it's possible to discuss it. Is that correct, losen sich reden?
I think so. And I think it's an unusual word, but I think it's rote, not rate.
Okay. Thanks. Coleman wordt gewollt gasten hebben. Coleman wanted to get married. Niet reden, he didn't just want to talk about it. Af dem hat ihm der Porisch geantwortet, als Obertracht le Meise, nicht la Halacha, darf rübergehen zum Rav von Shlomo Kissenshof, Rav Levi Hurwitz, was ist der Mamuna von Wilner Bad Haraponim, auf die Inyanim von Chalitza von Agunas. And if Coleman really wanted to get married and not just discuss it, then he would, and then the recluse said, if he really wants to do something and just doesn't want to know about the rules, he should go over to the rabbi who's on Shlomo Kissin's courtyard, Rabbi Levi Hurwitz, and he is the supervisor in Vilna, in the Vilna kind of board of rabbis about things like Levitic marriage and widows, or people who stuck, neither widows nor they're just missing a husband. Rabbi Levi Hurwitz is Bocher gewesen an Ila, when Rabbi Yossele, der älster Wilner More Hora, hat ihm genommen für an Edom. Rabbi Levi Hurwitz, youth-wise, was a genius, and Rabbi Yossele, the oldest on the rabbinic board, took him for a son-in-law. What's more or what kind of
That's a rabbi at a particular level of ordination. It's a fairly high level. I think there are 3 levels, but that's the highest level.
okay. Reb Yossele hat gehad noch etliche Edems von Azun alle Rabbonim. Rabbi Yossele had a number of son-in-laws and also a son, all of them rabbis. In Stott hat man geschmust, als Reb Levi Hurwitz stammt von Hasidim. In the town, they gossiped basically that Rabbi Levi Hurwitz came from Hasidim, and in Mitnatlik city, this would not be a good idea. Wilner Morei Hora, when viele städtische Rabbonim trocken in unsere Zeiten welche Kamaschen. Okay, Wilner rabbis and even smaller town rabbis in our times wear soft gaiters as a kamash, a gaiter.
No, I think it's the uppers of the boots.
Uppers of the, okay. Rabbi Levi trug unter die Kaloschen von die Häusen weichgekneitschte halbe Stieblach, but while Rabbi Levi wears under the spread of his trousers soft half boots. Presumably it's a uniform. He has a nature to run around quickly, gas und quick in the street and also in the house. Schreit beim Javelin, he yells at praying. And I think that's another Hasidic characteristic, isn't it? To pray out loud.
Yes.
Yeah. Where are we? Schreit beim Javelin, when Gato Shmone Esrei, der Erster, and finishes the 18 benedictions, the first. What find Magirim and so do a viele ältere Yeshiva Bochurim. He doesn't like preachers, and he even uses you instead of thou, even to older Yeshiva people. So is that, again, out of ignorance, is that a Hasidic thing that we're all equal? Or?
Not necessarily.
I mean, do is, I mean, in German also, do instead of sie is.
Yeah, I think it's just pointing out that he's a bit strange. He's strange in his dress. He's strange in his speech. He's strange in his davening. He must be a chassid.
And yeah, maybe the do comes from Poland as opposed to Lithuania. Anyway, whatever.
The do is a familiar way of addressing somebody, whereas the ear is the formal way.
Exactly. Obni Wilner mit nordische Jiden gesehen in dem Eiserne Reis als Reb Yosele's Edom stammt von Hasidim, and the Wilner mit Nagdim saw in the very stern Rayas
Proofs. They saw in these iron-bound proofs.
That Rabbi Yossele's Edom comes from Hasidim. Palabosdim haben euch untergeborgen, als nimmt selten wenn Gemorre in der Hand. And middle-class people, the backbone of the community, also murmured that he seldom took a Gemorre in his hand. Aber die Schreinim von Shlomo Kissens Häuf haben erzählt, als bei Rov Lewin is lichtig in alle Fenster bis Stick in der Nacht. But the neighbors of around that courtyard told that in his window it was light until late at night. Läuft darum über seine Chadorim mit einem kleinen Telemil in der Hand und klopft zeitenweise als euch auf dem Kohl, als der Häuf kein Auge nicht zumachen. He runs around over his rooms with a little psalm book in his hand and complains or shouts intermittently so loudly that the courtyard cannot close an eye. They cannot rest.
Sorry, a question. Ergate always is not something like he's losing his energy. Or Oisgain is like something like even to die.
Always
Where are you seeing that? I don't see it now.
Where is Oisgain?
Where there's a description about his style of praying, you hear him yell. It was a few lines about it, and then gate always der Erster.
That's a different meaning of gate ois. Gate ois Shimon Esra means to finish the prayers and to walk 3 steps backward. It's a specific meaning of oisgain. Oisgain Shimon Esra.
Well, it's specific to Shmon Esrei?
That particular meaning of oisgain, yes. Oisgain does mean to die, but not here.
Wonderful.
It has there's a third meaning, to go on a date. But here the meaning is to finish the Shemon Esra.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm becoming religious here. Under your tutelage. Thank you.
Rab Levi Hurwitz is given a größer Baal Yisurim. Rabbi Levi Hurwitz was, he suffered a lot. Sein Rebbetzin ist gleich noch der ersten und einzigen Kimpet runter von Sinnen und schon 20 Jahre wie sie ist Meshuggah. His wife, right after the first pregnancy, became mad and has been that way for the last 20 years. Euch Rab Levis einzige Tochter ist von Kindweis an gewesen, als stiller, mal Schwerenitzer, bis sie ist untergewachsen und benommen Brechenfenster. And his only daughter was from childhood on a sad girl until she grew up and started breaking windows. A lange Zeit hat der Tate sich gerangelt und sie gehalten, verspart in der Heim. A long time the father struggled and kept her locked up at home. The Soif hat gemusst maskim sein. Eventually he had to agree, man soll euch die einzige Tochter opführen in Mischkoim. Eventually he had to agree to have the only daughter sent to a lunatic asylum. Ist der Rav geblieben allein und in halber Nacht herumgelaufen über seine große, puste und beleuchtete Zimmern mit Artillerie in der Hand. The rabbi remained alone, and for half the night he would run around in his large, empty, lit-up rooms with a psalm book in his hand. What is the word for a psalm book? A psalter, or?
Yeah, psalter, but that's usually not the Jewish word for it. Just a tilimel, a psalm.
Right.
Yeah, psalter is right.
I think my voice is kaput now.
Okay.
Badient hat ihm a Schreine von Häuf, Chiana. a neighbor in the courtyard, served him. Her name was Chiana, an alte Yidene, Anna Mishpacha, an old woman who had no family. Sie ist jeden Tag gekommen, aufrahmen die Stieber, antragen Wasser und abkochen fahren Rov a gekechts. Every day she would come up to clean the rooms, to carry water, and to cook for the rabbi a meal. Einmal hat Chiana erzählt die Schreinem, als sie hat gehört, wie dem Rovs Schwagers seinen zu ihm zugestanden, soll nehmen a Heter von 100 Rabbonim und Chasene haben. Once Chiana told the neighbors that she had heard that the rabbi's brothers-in-law had tried to convince him that he should accept a rabbinic permission of the 100 rabbis and get married. This heter von 100 rabbonim is what a man does if his wife has gone insane and he needs to marry again, but she's still alive. And so if you get 100 rabbis to agree, then he can get remarried under the condition that if the wife ever comes to her senses, he must deliver her a get. You can't deliver a get if she's not able to receive it in full conscience. Right? I actually know a person for whom his father had to do this, because when he was born, his mother went into such a depression that his father, she was insane for the rest of her life, and his father had to get this permission because he had to get remarried in order to take care of the young one, because of course a man can't do that by himself. Anyway, that's on the side.
But I thought that insanity is could be a grounds for divorce also.
No, not in Jewish law. It's grounds, but she has to be able to receive the get, and she can't as long as she's insane.
Okay. Yeah,
So
but in
that's why you
civil
need
law
the
it
heter.
is. Okay, in civil law it is, I believe.
That's different. Yeah, this is a Jewish law. He would require the heter von 100 rabbonim and and remarry. Weil es ist mehr nicht in Hoffnung, sein Weib soll gesund werden, because there's no longer any hope that his wife would become well. Hat Rab Levi geantwortet seine Schwagers. Rabbi Levi answered his brothers-in-law, the Morahoros, the rabbis, as man vetim bareden, that they will convince him. Bareden?
They'll slander him.
No, they'll insult him. They'll speak ill of him. The people will speak ill of him. Im hat sich verlust haben, meise junger Manchek, that he had wanted to get married like a young man. Beiser hat a vibe und der erwachsene Tochter, even though at the time that he has a wife and a grown daughter in Mishigoyim Hoys, in the asylum, that man sagen, that's what they'll say. Die Mishpacha hat a Stückzeit ihm nicht nachgelost. For a while, his family didn't leave him alone. When is etliche Mal in Chodesh, Ruf gekommen zu ihm mit derselbe Rätsel. And a few times a month, they would come up into his house with the same advice. Der Rav hat es zugesehen. The people in the courtyard saw this and pflegt sich kaum der Warten, als Chiana soll vernachtlich herunterkommen von Rav, and just waited to see that Chiana should come right before evening, in the evening time, down from the rabbi's house. Die Schreinem haben gewollt wissen, said die Schwagers haben bei ihm gepoilt. The neighbors wanted to find out from her whether the brothers-in-law had achieved their end. Aber Chiana hat erzählt, dass der Rav ist herumgelaufen Tisch und viele gerät in Gramen. But Chiana recounted that the rabbi just ran around the table and was even speaking in poetry, in rhymes. Die Wildner Jiden wollen sagen, hat geschrieben, als ob es meg der Pastich von der Stade megen mir avada. The Vilna Jews will say he was shouting out. That if the shepherd can of the herd can do it, then we can too. In other words, they will say that he's just like an ordinary shepherd. Maybe this is a good place to stop.
What does the word stude mean?
Stade. A
Stade
stade
is what?
the stade is the herd or the flock,
Oh,
and a
Can I just
pastach is a
ask
shepherd.
one question? Do you think that the 100 rabbis, is that figurative or actually?
No, that's actual.
Oh,
It's called the Heter Meir Rabbonim. And it actually it's exactly what it sounds like. And as I said, I've actually heard of this happening. And the guy the son for whom it happened is still alive. He's exactly 20 years to the day older than me. And I send him birthday greetings every year.
Well,